We're no longer in the American or British economic orbit. Hopefully, we'll also escape their cultural orbit. Over time, our destiny will be underwritten by, why have we gone all blue? Is it kind of faded on me? It's got, it's gone, it's even better. We'll go straight to the conclusion. Ultimately, Australia has all the benefits of being a developed and advanced world, the benefits of rule of law, world-class health and educational systems. I know we moan and groan about our health system. Come with me to the rest of the world, and I'll show you appalling health systems. And yet, we are also underwritten by the fastest growing developing nations in the world. We have the best of both worlds. I'm incredibly optimistic about the long-term prospects for Australia. I would say that because I immigrated here with my family in 1997. And that I say with great confidence, notwithstanding the clowns in Canberra. Not even they could spoil the economic fortunes of the lucky country. I believe the new reality is a simple one, is that the world is increasingly divided between those nations that are submerging and those that are emerging. I think the world will have much better balance in the years and the decades ahead. I think the world was very unbalanced. And I much prefer a global economic engine driven by many cylinders of growth. I also passionately believe in a fusion of East and West, and I actually strongly believe we can take the best of the West and marry it with the best of the East. You can call me a dreamer if you wish, but that is my dream. So welcome to the new reality. Thank you so much.
Questions? 5 minutes for questions. There's got to be some.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've got another ways of measuring, I suppose, defining power. We've got economic power, political power, military power. I mean, let's just go through the military one first, because that's the easiest one. The United States spends more on defense spending than the rest of the world combined. The Americans are getting very upset by the Chinese Navy and other such things, and Chinese defense spending is literally a drop in the ocean when compared to the United States. They haven't even yet got an aircraft carrier. They bought an old husk from the Ukrainians, which they're trying to kind of tart up a bit at this moment in time. They're many years away from even having one aircraft carrier. There are 9 other nations in the world who have aircraft carrier fleets. So China is a long way behind when it comes to being anything close to being a military superpower. In fact, China spends more on internal security than it does external security. Their main focus is interior, not external. They actually don't want to cause trouble with anyone outside because they've got enough trouble inside. So in military terms, it's a foregone conclusion. In financial terms, obviously the US dollar is the reserve currency of the world. But over time, we're going to have a more shared reserve currency world. So we've got the euro, the yen, etc., etc. The renminbi will become, once the authorities allow it to be a convertible currency, freely traded, the renminbi will become one of the major currencies in the world. But the US dollar will retain its supremacy for some time, but in a diminishing way. In economic terms, the crossover between China and the United States being the largest economy, we're probably still, I can't remember the latest numbers, what are we, 2011 now? I think we're looking at about 2023, thereabouts. If we kind of compound China at 7% per annum, the United States, pretty flat on its back in terms of GDP growth. If we're kind, would say 2% per annum over the next decade, as an average. So China will probably go past the United States another 13 years away from now. I don't know if anyone's got a maths degree, and they can do the compounding for me, but it's probably about then. And now, interesting, okay, language is critical. It's all very fashionable today to say, teach your kids Mandarin. My riposte to that is, no, teach your children to speak English well. English is now, without doubt, the most widely spoken language in the world, and it is the business language of the world. So the English language will be the dominant language forever. It'll go on and on because it's actually spreading. The majority of the Indian population, so the numbers game is there. I mean, 1.2 billion people in India, and 1 billion of them speak English. So the business language of the world. I mean, IATA, the one rule of conduct for all pilots around the world is you have to be able to speak English. So you ultimately, in some spheres, you have to have a common language, and English is that language, in my view. I mean, and I'm not, by the way, I'm not a big, imperialist or whatever. Yeah. In terms of in terms of culture, I mean, with this, I don't want to flow over into other people's time, but Hollywood is a big component part of the kind of American persona. It's very interesting watching the Indian movie industry now permeating because of the English language. We've got Bollywood, we've got Hollywood. Watch this space. Hollywood will be dominant for the foreseeable future, certainly through the rest of my lifetime. But you're going to see the emergence of other cinema and other films. So it's a slow process, but we're going to have a more equal world, in my view, without one country being the sole determining superpower. And I think that's a good thing.